Cindy Media isn't allowed in this group.
Hello, Shireen. How's it going?
Candace. How are you on this gorgeous day?
Oh, it was such a lovely day in the garden roots. It was so sunny. I was just sat outside for my breakfast in the morning and I got sunburned. So it's going to be a hot summer in South Africa, that's for sure.
We had the same on the weekend. We were staying out at a farm and we walked around for maybe 20 minutes outside. We got back and we had these rings where our clothes had been.
Oh,
So,
wow.
Yeah.
Something's definitely going on with the sun. Who knows what? Okay, well, we are at 8 o'clock and I am so excited to be here again with Shireen. Last week we spoke about the law of mankind, and I think it is so interesting, something we should all start looking at learning so that we can truly know our rights as men and women. So just a little bit about Shireen. She is passionate about uplifting and empowering people, and we've seen that for at least 2 Zooms or 3 Zooms so far. And she loves sharing how powerfully wonderful and resilient our minds and bodies are. She is qualified as a body stress release practitioner, which I love. Body stress release is such a gentle way of looking after the body, but from the little gentle taps that you receive, makes such a huge difference in aligning the body. So I love body stress release. It's one of the main things that actually helped me with my back injury. And she's had practices in Belita and Umhlanga, but she's definitely found her deep passion and compassion working with people who are suffering in one way or another. She's always been an entrepreneur, and she's had part-time work during her teens and been working for herself since her 20s. She's traveled extensively, but always loved returning to the raw energy of Africa, where there are definitely less restrictions and rules compared to many other countries. And we definitely are closer to being free here than we realize. And both Shireen and Roy love some topical research, which is all about joining the dots and seeing through the superficial layers of life. Shireen is always seeking honor and truth, and that is why I'm so grateful that she's here to speak a little bit more about the law of mankind. So without any further ado, Shireen, over to you.
Oh, thanks, Cans. It's really lovely to be here. It warms my heart, and I hope that what I share warms the viewers as well. It really is about freeing ourselves, and to free ourselves, we need knowledge. So I'm sharing this knowledge, although I'm very new at it from sort of, if you want to put inverted commas, formal training point of view. I joined the Law for Mankind studies a little earlier in this year, and I'm having a very interesting time going through all the modules and learning more and more about myself, which is quite remarkable because we all tend to think we know ourselves. And we don't. We think we do, but we've got so many layers covering up who we really are. Anyway, I'm going to share my my PowerPoint. I've cheated a bit and used a couple of slides from last week, modified some of them, added extra in because we had hectic load shedding, and then we were supposed to have 6 hours tonight, but luckily it came on a short while ago, so I'm here. So let me just see if I can share this. One second.
Perfect.
All right, let me just wait for this other thingy to go away. Oh, and I need to move that. How do I get that to go away? How do I get the top bar to go away? It's hiding all the
Just put your cursor on the top of it and then drag it down.
Okay, down there. Okay, that'll do. Cool. Thanks. So, whoops, we're supposed to be at the beginning of it, not at the halfway through. So let's play from the start. Okay, so this is the law for woman and mankind, and my understanding is that it gets abbreviated like this because woman has the womb and man comes from woman, so they sort of do this womb/man or mankind instead of keep differentiating from each from the other. But this is part 2, and I just also wish to clarify that I, as a woman known as Shireen Rose Lee, share this information to encourage a safe space and questioning within your being, where you can ask yourself, is there more to our worldly experience than meets the eye? The information I share is from the perception, experiences, and questioning of I and what resonates as truth for I. I ask that you, as a woman or a man, take responsibility for your own thoughts, emotions, and beliefs that may arise or be triggered by what I share. This is sharing purely from I, a woman, to you as a man or woman. And I think last time I said I was going to share why this is written so weirdly according to our so-called norm. Just briefly, everything that we've been taught about proper English and grammar and punctuation, etc., is all a way of confusing us, ensnaring us, if you like, in the rules of the world. So capitalization is a way of taking away the mind of I. So if you look at this little I here, it's a small I with a head. I haven't been decapitated. So capitalization decapitates us, takes away our power as a man or woman. And I'll go into that a little bit further. So that's why you'll always see I in the small I with the dot showing that I clearly have my head and mind. may not operate the same as everybody else's, but it is there. So right. So are you able to open yourself up to the possibility that the legal system as we know it is not the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Could there be something that we are missing, hidden in plain sight? So since I chose to do the Law of Mankind through the Sovereign's Way website, I've been learning more and more that this is an internal journey. It's about releasing stuck emotions, traumas, beliefs, and exposing the untruths in my reality for sure, because I'm now seeing them more and more clearly every day. And I choose and continue to choose to remain open. And it is so easy for us to be closed. In Gift of Legacy, we experience it all the time. We share with this beautiful open heart, thinking somebody's going to like get it, it's such a gift. And they go, oh my God, no, they can't do that, or whatever their reasons are, but they are closed. They're closed to hearing the truth and the honesty and the giving and the beauty in it. If humanity could get together, we can be so powerful. So I choose to remain open. I'm going to share this little skit just to help us see how we play these parts that are not necessarily truth. So enjoy. So I shared that because it's a lovely example of a man who has power, superpowers, but in his everyday suit with his tie and his glasses, he's a little man. He's a little man at the company he works for, the newspaper he works for. But when he strips off and opens himself up to his innate power, he can do wonderful things. And we all have that power in us. We just have to discover it. So we're all creative beings. And let's just consider the Monopoly board game for a moment. So here we are. Here are all the pieces. And I'm sure everybody's played Monopoly. It's a game of life, I suppose you could call it. Earning money, buying and selling properties, having fun, basically enjoying the game with the other participants that are there. And so I'm asking you, which piece are you playing in your lives? We all are playing a piece. Tonight, my piece is sharing about the law of mankind. When I wake up tomorrow, I might be in the garden doing gardening. So I play different pieces in my life. And just like in the Monopoly, we all have this fear of going to jail, and the biggest fears in this game that we're playing, of course, is the fear of authority, the men in their police uniforms and judges' capes and debt collectors, etc. So if we can start seeing it as a game, maybe, just maybe, we'll have less fear. Because when we're caught up in the game, we have no control. But if we're not caught up in the game, then who am I? Who is the I or the you that is playing in that game? You're not the hat. You're not the car. It may feel like it sometimes, but you're not. So I ask you, are you in control over whether you decide to continue to play or not? And that's a deeper question than the superficial question of playing Monopoly. Do you realize that you have control, that you can wake up and change things, and not, when I say wake up, I don't mean to be derogatory, but sometimes things are hidden in plain sight and we don't see them, as I will show you just now. So on Gift of Legacy, are you the gifter, the builder, the guide, the legend, or are you the profile name? Are you participating, playing the role of each position? You're playing, but are you actually those positions? No, you're just playing and being active in this activity. And I like the way the core team have called it an activity, because when you play a game, the game often ends, and invariably somebody loses. You know, play a game of rugby, there's a winning side, a losing side. Playing Monopoly, somebody gets all the money in the end and somebody loses it all. So as an activity, Gift of Legacy is just so much better. There's so much more ease and grace there. There's not the fear of somebody else beating me. You know, I can play my part as best I can and move through the boards and experience the abundance according to the energy that I put into it. But I am playing a role in each of those positions, and I need to play that role in honor and truth and efficiency. I think efficiency helps a lot. So where else do we play? Where are we unaware that we are even part of a game? In the legal system, there's a saying, ignorance of the law is no excuse. And I'm not sure if that is actually a law or a rule or statute, or if it's just a saying, but I've heard it many a time. Ignorance of the law is no excuse. The onus is on us to learn the law. So that's quite a tough one, because we've all seen these legal libraries with thousands and thousands of dull, boring covered books. How on earth do we learn all that stuff, precedents and regulations and statutes and rules? And then there's family law and corporate law and criminal law. I mean, it's not possible for us to learn it all. So what is possible for us? Is there a simpler way? So I was thinking about titles. I was at a farm this weekend. As I mentioned earlier, I got a little bit suntanned, and I was listening to the man who acts as farmer telling a story about his work. He has another business, and during the course of his sharing, there were some words which came up, and I thought, oh my head, those are interesting words. They color the picture a little bit more. So before I go into those words that he was using, I just want us to look at these different costumes and titles that we wear daily. I won't read them all. You can read them yourself, but we know them: homeowner, renter, husband, wife, mother, child. I love the traveling one, because we leave home, we become a driver, a commuter, passenger, pedestrian when we get off the bus, a runner, a walker. And eventually when we're at work, we're one of these. Which one? Boss, employer, employee, secretary, stock controller, manager. The list is endless. There's title after title after title. Everywhere you look in our lives, there are titles, and nowhere do they reflect the man and the woman. So we think that title is us. We take ownership of it. Roy and I have often shared in other Zooms how men retire after 20, 30, 40 years as being a bank manager, and then they lose their identity and end up on the park bench feeding the pigeons in their suits with their hats, because they've lost their identity. They've identified so much with that title. They've forgotten who they are as a man. They've forgotten any passion they may have had, any hobby they may have liked to have done, something that really stirred them. They've forgotten all that in the corporate life of being the bank manager. So that's very sad. We need to find out who we are and what we want to do in our lives before we retire. So there's my question, in this list and the endless lists that can follow, where is the honorable man or woman who takes responsibility? And I'm sure you've all experienced it. I certainly have. You phone, we'll pick on the banks tonight. You phone the helpline and you get this automated response. Choose this number, choose that number, go here, go there. Often you get cut off and you got to start again. And then eventually when you put on hold, you wait and wait, and you hopefully finally get through to somebody that understands what you're trying to share and has the knowledge to help you. In my experience, I find that the music that plays when you're on hold is so loud, it just about bursts my eardrums. But when I start to speak to the man or woman behind the phone, I can hardly hear them. And I say, this is a bad line. I can't hear you. Please speak up, because I need you to be clear so that I can be clear on what you're understanding and what I'm understanding. And that understanding is an interesting word as well. Remind me, Cans, at the end to talk about understanding. So of all the parts and all the personas that I have impersonated, played, underneath it all, I'm still a woman known as Shireen. And when I get asked, who are you? What is your name? My immediate response is Shireen. Can send me a message. Shireen, send me your bio. Send me something. Let me introduce you. And I answer to Shireen, yes, Shireen. But Is that really my name? Oh, is it the absolute truth? We all say our name is our name. We own it. It's ours. But is it the absolute truth? Here's another little skit. And this is a real interview, although many years ago, but it was a real interview.
My next guest is one of the country's most famous and dynamic trial lawyers. In fact, he has a distinguished legal career. And those of you who are familiar with the television show that was on for some seasons, Sam Benedict, was based on a good part on his career. He's written a new book called A Reasonable Doubt, in which he states his definite opinions, speaks out rather boldly and provocatively on a whole number of subjects, from the narcotics addict to censorship to the Fifth Amendment to divorce and etc. He's an extremely interesting man. Would you welcome, please, Mr. Jake Ehrlich? Good evening, Counselor.
Good evening.
I always hear that. They say that on television all the time.
Not on the
Counselor.
Sam Benedict show, they don't.
They don't say that. Why do they always say it in those other series? Counselor all the time. Do
Yeah, well,
lawyers talk to each other that way?
No. You ought to hear lawyers talk to each other.
This is a most fascinating book. As I mentioned to you briefly in the little time we had to say hello before the program, I get probably 30 or 40 books a month from people who appear on the show, and most of you don't have a chance to really look through. You look some of the highlights. And I sat up the last 2 nights with this book and called A Reasonable Doubt and got so fascinated. I guess the lay people who don't know much about the workings of the law, this is all fascinating.
I'm glad
what
you like it,
what you
Johnny.
do. Most interesting. One statement you had in here, it says when you are defending somebody, you say the first thing that you tell them is never plead guilty.
Never plead guilty. Every man's entitled to a trial. He's presumed to be innocent until the contrary is proved to a moral certainty beyond a reasonable doubt. And that's his right under the law, and he ought to avail himself of that right.
So never
Plead
never
guilty.
plead guilty.
Let me ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
What is your name? What is your name?
I refuse to answer. No, my name is Johnny Carson.
How do you know that to be your name?
Well, it's on a birth certificate, legally
That's
recorded.
hearsay.
That's hearsay?
Of course.
I mean, if it's legally recorded,
That's still hearsay. Suppose you were born, and I must assume that you were born because you're here tonight with us. There's a certificate made out not by you, certificate made out by somebody else. That a boy child was born to Mr. and Mrs. Carson, and that he was named Johnny.
mhm.
That doesn't mean that you know that to be the fact. That means you have read that to be the fact.
Yeah, I see what you mean. In other words, I only have to go by what is recorded.
You're pleading guilty to something that you don't know of your own knowledge.
In other words, I should have said, if somebody asked me who I am, I say, I plead not guilty. Right? It doesn't go quite
No,
that
not-
far.
not that.
Plead not guilty. I see what you mean. That is hearsay. I'm
That's
only
hearsay.
accepting what somebody has
What
said.
somebody else has said.
But that would be legal. I mean, if you come in with a birth certificate, that proves you're born.
Well, birth certificates are legal until they're attacked and proved to be invalid. That has happened too.
I get such a kick out. I think about the second chapter of the book on new lawyers and stuff.
So that was Johnny Carson how many years ago, interviewing a lawyer who was saying that we can question the validity of the birth certificates as being legal. So let's have a look. What's the difference between law and legal? So law represents land, air, and water. And God, creator, whatever you wish to call whatever created all of this, gave dominion over this earth to man and woman. And the law is do no harm. It's simple, it's clean, and it's clear. We all understand what do no harm is. Don't hurt somebody, don't lie, don't steal. Just do no harm. This is also known as natural law or common law of the land. Legal is based on maritime law. It is international law. It is the law of transportation, commerce, corporations, business, titles, fictional entities, i.e. dead entities. SARS is a name on a building. It's not a real tax man. SARS is a fictional entity. It is a title. You can hear the maritime language everywhere. Partnership, banking, canal, birth canal, docket, seaman, helm, steer, current, sea, currency, liquidate, liquid, cash flow. Do any of these ring a bell? Do you know any of these words? There are millions of them. So again, just for clarity, I wanted to share this slide, which says there are many paths to choose from to discover the truth and empower yourself. Knowledge is the power. You have to know so that you can make a choice. Fighting never wins. Protesting is like a child wanting a sweetie. And that's something I have learned in the Law for Mankind, is that if we want to write a petition against something and we state the whole situation in a paragraph at the top and we get 1,000 signatures, if that gets sent to government, it's considered one objection. One. If we want to have any leverage, we have to each write our own objection in our own words with our own heart in it. Otherwise, we just sound like children protesting, wanting sweeties. And they look at us like that. So there are a number of ways where you can find your truth. There's common law, there's emancipation, there's applying for live birth certificates, there's reclaiming your straw man, and there's pars syntax, which is all based on mathematics. It's interesting. I'm still looking into it, but in legal contracts, it is written in such a way that if you read it forwards and backwards, it means the same thing, which we can't say for our contracts and legal documents that we read these days. They are totally confusing. What drew me to the Law for Mankind is because I heard one of the presenters saying, if you have to apply for emancipation and get a letter from some man or woman in some position of power, is that being free? You know, either we are free as men and women and we come to know it and understand it according to I and understand it totally and live freely, or we keep asking permission, like going to the headmaster and saying, you know, can I leave school early today because I've got to do X, Y, Z? And then he gives you a little note saying, yes, you're permitted to leave school, but who's got the power there? So for me, the Law for Mankind is I don't know, it just feels like it hits the sweet spot. And it certainly hits the sweet spot for me. So the question is, how do men and women regain their power? Firstly, we have to question over and over and over until sense prevails. And it's really got to be make sense to you. I only found out recently that when we fill in a form, no, it doesn't say contract, form, we fill in a form and we sign it, we have basically agreed to a contract. Whatever that form is becomes a contract. And how many of us sign forms willy-nilly without thinking that they are actual legal contracts? When we sign it, that is a signature, we sign it, we do it we do it for our fictional title. So that's the capital letters on our birth certificate. That is the fictional version of the woman I, Shireen. So anytime you put your signature on a form or a document, you fall under the legal system. As a man or woman, we autograph like an artist on the right-hand side of the page. And we state autograph, not signature. So 2 little words to be aware of as you move forward in this world. And as I said before, we have to establish that new understanding and understanding of what is truth. And I'll talk about the understanding now so Candace doesn't have to remind me. When somebody says, do you understand? That man or woman is asking you to stand under their power, their authority. So we should avoid at all times saying, I understand you, whoever the you is, the policeman or the judge, because then we are agreeing to be under their authority. We have to come up with other words. Go, let me just be clear on this. Let me get some insight here. But avoid the word I understand, unless it's your own understanding, your own inner standing. Then you can say it. Once we have knowledge, we can make informed choices. And I want to reiterate this. The most challenging part is releasing the emotional trauma caused by all the harm. We need to clear our beings so that we're not triggered by the movie matrix around us, or at least be aware we've been triggered and then look within even deeper to clear the underlying seed event. There are triggers in our lives all day long. We don't even know that they're there. It could be a fragrance, it could be the color of somebody's tie, and it just triggers a memory back in the past where somebody who used that fragrance or wore that type of tie did something to you which wasn't so lekker. And so there's some sort of emotional angst there. So anytime you have a reaction to something, just take note. What is that? What's triggered me? What's underlying that? And be aware of the masks that you and others are wearing, that you're hiding behind. So yes, when I'm meeting guests at my guest house, I'm hiding behind the mask of guest house owner. Although I welcome them into my home because I live here, I've realized that I have to lay down the law to them when they arrive, because sometimes people come and they think that our guest house is where they can have a wild party and bring uninvited guests and drink and make loud noise all hours of the night. And I tell them, no, this is a retreat. This is where we escape from the busyness of our lives, from the noise of TV. And we come and we commune with nature. We hear the birds. We experience the lightning on the mountain. We become aware of the color and the nuances of the wind in the trees. So I lay the law down to them, but in a nice way, right up front when they arrive, so that they know if they step over that little line that I've drawn, when I come to them and say, hey, it's late now, 10 o'clock, people are sleeping, please turn down the music or whatever. They listen because I've warned them already. So we have these masks, and we play different roles, different personas all day long. And that's okay, as long as we know it. Because we can choose to step out from that mask at any time. But if we don't know it, we are stuck. So be brave enough to seek your truth. It does take bravery. It's not for everybody. And that courage comes with knowledge. It comes with that sense of there's more to life than I see. And each of us will go at our own pace, our own speed, We'll touch into things that go, oh no, that doesn't feel very nice. I've definitely had a couple of those, and I go, no, I can't digest that. But as I move on and I see more and I understand more, I am getting braver. And that bravery is allowing me to seek my truth more and more. And so can you. And in seeking the truth, you seek your freedom. And I love this picture. I showed it last time. That's just, for me, that's it. All the beautiful color, the nature around us, the joy on her face. That is how we should all be experiencing our lives, and feel free to throw the leaves around like gold leaf confetti. Why not? Why not have some fun? And when you feel it, you taste it. And when you taste it, you want more of it. You can't unfeel it. You can't untaste it. So let's unite as men and women. Let's unite to be free from the system that's controlling us. It's all up to us. They, whoever they are not gonna set us free. It doesn't serve them. We have to free ourselves. The power is within. So once you know the truth, you cannot unknow it. The question is, which pill do you want to take? The red or the blue? Oh, Morpheus. The more and more I go down this path, the more and more I see what the Matrix movies were trying to tell us. And they were very graphic, but in reality, it's not that different. We just have to open our eyes. So that's it. We'll stop sharing. And I hope Can's is there. And if there are any questions, I'll happily try and answer them.
Yes, I'm here. You know, while you were talking about, you know, just getting to know yourself and going within, I realized how traumatizing school was for me. And I'm talking about from the very beginning, when I went to nursery school, I did not like it. I did not want to go there. I did not feel safe. And I cried every day. I think I went for about 2 years, and then I cried every single day that my mom dropped me off, that they didn't take me there anymore. And then going into primary school, there was so much fear. There was so much fear, and the teachers were very, very hectic. And I realized in this session, actually, that I don't take well to criticism, because it brings back that fear of the teacher and not being good enough, and just being scared of getting into trouble and not being good enough. So yeah, it's so crazy how we get forced into that school system so early on in age, and to indoctrinate us, to teach us all of the things that we need to unlearn right now.
Yeah, you triggered a memory for me. So I went to this nursery school, and I used to love playing on the swings and the parallel bars, and just feeling free, like that little girl in that picture. I can feel that freedom that I felt then. And so if I remember correctly, and my memory is a little bit vague, I think I went to the nursery school first, and then my younger brother eventually joined me there. But because I was older, there was this fence between the little tiny tots and the older children. And he stood and cried at that fence. Oh, I can feel it coming up. Wow. He cried every day for me. And there was nothing I could do. I could console him through the fence. But was there compassion from the teachers? Didn't my mother and father know? I don't know. I don't know if I told them. But that little boy was traumatized. So what do I sit with? What is this that's coming up? I have to ask myself. So the trauma for me? Yes. Guilt because I couldn't help him. Yes. Responsibility because I was older and should have been able to help. All those things come up. And they affect how we function in the world today, but we've forgotten that little memory. We've forgotten the pain that it caused. And we've forgotten the power that it took away from us, because I was powerless. He was powerless. So
Yeah, and then the teachers say, come on now, be a man, put on that mask. And we've got
That's
so
it.
good at putting on all these masks. Yeah, and I didn't realize I wear masks either until one day when we were in the early stages of development. We'd had a meeting and someone was so hectic with me that I was in absolute tears and I had to pull myself together and come onto a Zoom call and speak about things like I was so excited about them. And it was so easy for me to do. And my friend said to me afterwards, geez, you really know how to wear a mask well. And it forced me to look within and go, oh my gosh, yeah, I did not deal with anything before I got onto that Zoom call. I just dusted myself off. And
Yeah.
I mean, that's where cancer can come from a thing like that. That if we don't process and we don't go into ourselves and feel these feelings, and like Shireen said last week, it's not about wallowing in them. And like Jenny O'Boyle has said before, you bring up the movie, you look at it, and then you can put it away again. You don't need to relive those feelings, but you can definitely acknowledge them, let them come out. And now what Shireen did right now in this 5 minutes, that's healed her. It's
Yeah.
healed her and something within her brother, because I really believe that when something heals within us, it really does help everyone in our family as well.
Absolutely can. Absolutely. And you're right. You're absolutely right, because my heart feels lighter now. And you know, I suppose it's the first time maybe I've shared it with Roy in the past, shared the story, but just shared the story. Didn't allow any emotion to bubble up, didn't allow myself to feel that pain. So I have felt it now, and after the call I will just sit with it quietly and lovingly and allow the process to heal, because I want to heal so badly. And I want to help others too as well, because
Because that's the next thing. You said you love helping people, but you know, so many of us want to help people, but we can't help people if we're not helping ourselves first.
Exactly. So that's why I try and share from my experience. I'm often sharing with our family affair and GL just stories from my experience, and I've started to appreciate myself as a storyteller, because when you can tell a story, especially if it's something that's connected personally, people feel that. They feel the truth in the heart of it. And we need to have confidence to share that. So I'm striving ahead.
So much power in being vulnerable, because being vulnerable is something that we're taught to avoid from a very young age. And when you are vulnerable, it can be used against you, you know, and again, it's something that they teach you at school, is that you can take somebody that's vulnerable, you can learn their weaknesses and then manipulate them in that way. But the more of us that are vulnerable, the more of us that can just show our humanness, the more strength we'll get together.
Exactly. Well done, underlined and highlighted, because Greg, one of the men in the Law for Mankind, says, you know, when you are pulled over by the policeman and you're feeling fear, tell him, you know, I'm feeling nervous, I'm anxious. You know, you here standing here in your suit and you've got a gun on your hip. That's a bit nerve-wracking. And so you try and connect with them as a man or a woman, So for me, I have a little bit of a challenge with that, to show that much vulnerability. But what I do is I will always speak to them like they are a man and a woman. You know, I'll ask them how they're managing to stand out in the heat all day, or the freezing cold, or something that relates to that specific moment. And invariably, I find they warm towards me, and we have a conversation, and then they wave me on. And so I think that's what Greg's really saying, rather than maybe expressing my weakness to somebody who could take advantage of me. I don't know. I have to work around that one. I don't feel so comfortable, but there is a truth in it. If we can connect with every man and woman, doesn't matter what uniform they wear, if we can connect with them at that heart space as a living being, even if they don't respond immediately, they're going to go home and think about it. Like, oh, even if they think this was a weird person that they met, weird man or woman, not a person.
Common law, I think, and I want to say, especially in South Africa, is if you just know a little bit and you start speaking to the policeman about it, you'll know more than they do, which is quite crazy. And they won't get defensive. They'll actually want to hear more if they hear you talking like that. So just an example, you know, a driver's license. Do we need a driver's license, Shireen?
So there's a lot of controversy over that, because, you know, technically for thousands of years, we have all traveled. We've traveled by foot. We've traveled on a horse. We've moved around. So yes, we should be able to travel freely in our private capacity. But on the other hand, and I hear this side as well, is that you are driving a vehicle which is 1 ton of metal. It's a lethal weapon. You can drive it too fast and be reckless in an area where children are crossing the road, whatever. You know, there are many reasons for having rules on the road to not just to control us, but to look after others. So if we are stopped and asked for our driver's license, instead of causing conflict, we can offer it. We can say, there you are, there's the driver's license. And then if they say, is that you? And I love this part. Is that you? And you go, no, that's a photograph of me. This is me. I'm here. This is me. That's a photograph of me. That's been issued by the licensing department, but it's not me. So we can start to define ourselves in truthful ways without adding conflict. Because if we add conflict, so I've you know, in the groups I'm on with the Law for Mankind, lots of videos are being shared, especially Canada. They've really, really, really been tough on the people, and they are standing up and talking to the police and saying things like, I don't need a driver's license, because interestingly enough, Canada, the country, is actually the corporation that is on the sea around Canada. The land is not owned by the corporation.
Oh, wow.
I know. So, you know, and I watched the Australian men and women who know their common law being stopped by a policeman and saying, no, I do not have to give this to you. I do not stand under your authority. Have I committed a crime? If I've committed a crime, if I've done a harm, fair enough. But for what reason have you stopped me? And they have to answer. And if they don't answer, they duck and dive and manipulate and call in reinforcements, and then threaten to fine the person because they haven't shown their license. But these these people really know their stuff. So if you're going to do that, you've really got to know your stuff, and you've really got to be clear within yourself so that you do not have emotions arising that will add controversy. So, you know, the choice is yours, whether you want to drive without a license. I know a lady, part of our group, she's in Canada, and she went through a whole lot of angst, legal angst, and she now has a car with no license. She's had plates made which say private.
Wow.
She drives around with private plates written on her car, and no one stopped her, no one's questioned her. So when we understand the laws, the rules, some of the rules, so if you have committed a harm, yes, then the police officer can arrest you, jail you, whatever. But if not, you just show your driver's license, and if he sends you on your way, great. If he now starts saying to you, get out the car, I want to search your car, I want you to touch your nose because maybe you've been drinking, and meanwhile it's 10 o'clock in the morning and you know you haven't, then if you know your law according to you can have your written notices, if you like, ready in your cubbyhole, or you can start to inform him that, do you realize that I charge for orders? Just like McDonald's charges for an order a burger, you pay. If you order me to hop on one foot, I charge whatever, 1,000 Rand per order, and 100 Rand for every minute that it takes for that order to be completed. And if you are in agreement with that, I'll happily get out the car and do those things. But note, I'll be billing you, Joe Bloggs, not the constable so-and-so. And then they can go, oh, you know, you're talking nonsense, get out because I say so. And so you say, fine. And as long as you can record it so that you have proof, you can lawfully, legally charge him for the orders and the time it took for you to fulfill those orders, and he is obliged to pay as a man. So, yeah.
Well, I guess it's like anything, you know, if you know your law of mankind and your common law, you won't have the fear. And it's the same as sharing gift of legacy. If you know exactly how it works and you are truly passionate about it, you'll be able to talk about it with no fear, and no fear of rejection either.
And also, as you become more clear within here, clear that you don't have the fear, clear that you do have the knowledge, clear that you trust the system, clear that it works for you. If it works for me, it has to work for somebody else. When you have that clarity in you, that reflects out to other people, and people that are drawn to you will be more open to it, and people that are closed and don't like that clarity, you know, the mirror's too clean, they see too much, they don't want to acknowledge, they'll move out of your space. So you end up drawing the right men and women into gift of legacy, instead of the ones that don't listen, you know, don't get it, are not clear, think it's just an investment.
So true.
Mm,
Tribe attracts your tribe for sure.
yeah.
All right, well, thank you so much for your time. I loved this evening, and I'm so motivated to now go and get onto that course. I just need to get some time sorted out to focus on that. But just seeing you from the time that you started till now has been really beautiful, and you've blossomed, and just the fact that you can share so openly just shows how much you've grown. So thank you for sharing with us. Thank you for always being available to share. And yeah, we'll have to get you and Roy back on for that one that we didn't get to record on YouTube. So we'll have to do that at some stage. That was all about brain matters. Yeah. So thank you so much, Shireen. Thank you for your time. And thank you everybody for tuning in, and for everybody that's going to be watching the recording, and everybody on YouTube as well. So stay safe, stay informed. Lots of love, everybody.
Lots of love. Take care.